Williamson Herald High School football highlights are sponsored by Moody's Tire and Auto Service with 2 locations to serve you in Williamson County. Moody's Tire, doing it right for over 70 years. Find out more at moody'stire.com.
Well, hello folks, and welcome to the Williamson Herald High School Sports Extra. I'm Charles Pulliam here, joined with Maurice Patton, and we're out here at Fairview High School where they got quite the game coming up here against Harpeth coming to town. And the boys getting ready, it seems like. What do you think about this matchup?
I think it's a chance obviously for the Yellow Jackets to do something pretty special, coming in here 9-0, finally breaking into the Associated Press Class 3A statewide poll. I'm so happy for Chris Hughes and this bunch out here with an opportunity to go 10-0. Seems to be the first time since 1979 if they're able to pull it off. And you know, Harpeth no slouch. They're coming in here at 8-1, so they're going to have their work cut out for them, but really like the way this team has gone about its business. And I keep going back to the way they finished up last year with that 39-0 loss to Stratford in the opening round of the playoffs. Nasty night, weather-wise, nasty field. But I think Chris and this coaching staff has really coached off of that all year long, and these guys have responded to it.
Jackets coming off of that great win at Camden last week, 28-14. You see a lot of good things always from their two-back system there, but what are these boys going to have to do to come out with that unbeaten season? I
think they're going to have to just continue to do what they've done on both sides of the ball. Got to continue to be productive with those two backs, Hunter Caldwell and Jake Bethard, opening things up for Cam Harris-Lusk and allowing the sophomore to continue to be productive at quarterback and keep getting it done on the defensive side of the ball with Caldwell kind of spearheading things over there as well. Had a great season. I don't think they have to do anything different than to just come out and play.
Final week of the regular season here for high school football, and of course this one of the biggest ones around, so be sure to get here early if you do come, because this is going to be senior night, you name it, this place is going to be packed.
It is, and as it should be. You know, again, you just don't get a chance to go 10-0 very often, and this community has really gotten behind this program. I think it's one of the reasons that Chris has stayed here. He's a Fairview native, doesn't want to go anywhere, really likes the feel of this thing, and again, this community has really supported this program. I don't think Friday night will be any different, so if you've not been here, if you're deciding to just now come and kind of support these guys, like Charles said, you may want to get here pretty early, because it could get pretty tight out here pretty quick.
It should be a fun one. Of course, everyone really in play this weekend. We had a couple bye weeks for some teams last week, but we go to Region 7 5A, where I think a lot of people in the county, especially those folks in Centennial, probably like Brentwood quite a bit right now after what they did last week.
Yeah, I think Brentwood probably acquired some fans last Friday night with the way they handled business against Henry County in that 38-13 win. I don't know that was necessarily expected, but kind of been watching Carson Shacklett all year long. He's really developed and grown into that quarterback spot and scored all 5 of their touchdowns one way or the other in a huge win for the Bruins. Again, I don't think that was necessarily expected. The way Henry County had been rolling, they came in undefeated in Region 7 5A, and you know, they can still force a tie at the top of the region with a win against Centennial, but you know, I think they kind of maybe showed some chinks in the armor. Now, I think that the Patriots coaching staff will go back to the chalkboard and work on some things, but at the same time, I think it kind of gives Centennial an extra little boost, knowing how they handled Brentwood earlier in the year, and for Brentwood to have done what they did this past weekend against Henry County. So, you know, big win for Brentwood. I don't know that Centennial needed any extra confidence, but they certainly got some. So this should be a big ball game up in Paris. Good luck. And Matt Kreisky going back home. I'm not sure what kind of reception he's going to get up there, but should be a good one.
Well, of course, the Bruins actually going to Clarksville to close out as well to kind of follow up such a great win. The next one we're looking at is Centennial all the way at Henry County. Someone's got to take that in this region every trip, end of the year. Paris seems like the spot. Centennial's turn this time. What do you think the Cougars are going to do there?
You know, once they get there, which and I think they're taking up a bunch of kids. They've got some charter buses and that kind of thing set up to go. So should be a great atmosphere up there. Again, another team that I think if they just continue doing what they've done, which has been run the football primarily with Zion Lee, with Matthew Thurston, Jerry O. Wilson, they've got some guys that they can run at you and continue to play defense. I think they should be in pretty good shape because Henry County is going to be pretty one-dimensional. They're going to run the football. And Centennial has shown an ability to hang in and shut that type thing down. We saw them against Northeast a few weeks ago where it looked like Northeast was going to be able to do some things against them in the run game, and they got some things shored up over the course of the ball game, got out with a win. Playing really well right now.
And the Cougars coming off a 28-24 win against a Rossview team that was up at Centennial here last week. So the Cougars had a bit of a test, it seemed like.
Yeah, and, you know, my hats are off to Rossview and specifically to Ron Lambert, the former defensive coordinator over at Tennessee State. Kind of feel like he cooked something up defensively for Centennial, and it sounds like they made some halftime adjustments that allowed them to get out with that win. But, you know, Rossview's kind of been up and down over the course of the season, but you kind of felt like they had the opportunity and the ability to make things tough. Again, Rossview beat Brentwood early in the year, 17-14, so not a bad ball club, but again, Centennial taking care of business when they had to, getting out with that win. And at this point, I don't know that you're necessarily worried about margin of victory as much as you are victory. So Centennial gets to 8-1 overall, still undefeated in region play, looking to win the region outright with this win up at Henry County.
And, of course, Region 7-5A, just such a logjam. It seems like they've been doing a round robin here. And Rossview's right in that mix, too. But Henry County, Brentwood, Centennial, this near the top there has always been something.
It has. And like you said, there is a bit of a logjam there. And Brentwood kind of added to that with that win. Things would have been a little bit more clear-cut, I think, had that gone the other way. But I think Ron Crawford likes being right in the middle of that logjam right now.
Visit us at Moody's Tire for all your tire and automotive needs.
Stop by and see us at 1600 Columbia Avenue.
Well, in Region 5-5A, the Summit Spartans coming off well, it was a tough showing at Stewart's Creek. What are the Spartans going to have to do to kind of recover? They're going to Columbia, but the boys really struggled, it seemed like.
They struggled to run the ball, which has obviously been their calling card all year. Only managed 107 rushing yards on 31 carries. I think Stewart's Creek was really laying in wait for that run game and had answers to Ty Carter and Tyler Palmer and that whole bunch. So I think Brian Coleman and that coaching staff will want to get back to that physical run game and reassert that part of their ball of their offensive approach. And I think they'll have an opportunity to do that against a Columbia team that's really struggled this year. Had a tough loss over at Shelbyville last week. Lost pretty convincingly to Independence the week before that, but the Lions are really in the midst of a struggle with their first-year coach Jason Hoth down there. I think Summit will be okay as far as reestablishing what they want to do on both sides of the ball here and be able to take some momentum, I think, into the postseason. But this is a big one for them, and they want to go in and, I think, like I said, reestablish and get a good feeling about themselves as they head into the playoffs.
Now, you mentioned Independence, and we're out here at Fairview where a 9-0 team is going to host Harpeth. And for Independence, they're looking to do this for back-to-back years for unbeaten regular seasons. So the boys are cruising.
You know, and again, we've talked about it over the course of the year. They went 15-0 last year, won a state championship. You felt like with what they had lost from last year to come back and replicate that wasn't going to be easy. Well, so far, we look like we really know what we're talking about on that one because they're sitting there at 9-0, like you said. And as I've said so many times, they're kind of doing it differently, but the results have been the same, 9-0. They've got Laverne coming in Friday night, and this is the Laverne team that I think a lot of people, well, I know I did, expected a lot out of with the two Tennessee commitments in Princeton Fant and Malik Gray. And I think they've underachieved, but I think Independence will be able to kind of take advantage of that Friday night and should close things out. And again, you talk about senior night and everything that goes with the final game of the regular season. It'll be crazy out in Thompson Station as well.
Of course, the Eagles hosting that one. If we scoot just a little up north there, Franklin and Ravenwood in Region 3 6A also hosting home finales. And for the Rebels, they're coming off a overtime loss at Mount Juliet, which was, wow, that was something for last Friday night, a 42-35 overtime loss to the Golden Bears. But the Rebels got to bounce back now.
They've got to bounce back. I think they will bounce back. Talked to Donnie Webb over the weekend. You know, it's not like they lost to a bad ball club. Mount Juliet had won 5 straight coming into that ball game. You knew it was going to be a knockdown drag out. It certainly was. Mount Juliet got out with it. You know, if those two played 10 times, I think it'd probably be 5-5. I really do. But you know, Mount Juliet got the one.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, Franklin has to bounce back. I have complete confidence that they will. You know, they played some awfully good ball. They had won 7 straight going into that ball game. It's not like they necessarily played badly the other night. Mount Juliet just played better. Lebanon has struggled. So again, I think this will be an opportunity for Franklin to bounce back, build some confidence. Not that they necessarily need it, and go into postseason play on a little bit of a roll.
And for Ravenwood, they enter this contest at 4-5. Going to be hosting a Antioch team coming off a loss to Wilson Central last week. So
coming off a loss to Wilson Central 2 weeks ago, they beat McGavock
right.
this past week, 19-2, which is
there's a score for you.
There is a score for you. But yeah, the Bears, coached by former Bruins coach Mike Woodward, so they will have some familiarity with Ravenwood, I would think. Ravenwood should take care of business, but the way things have gone the last few weeks, it's hard to say. It really is. I think if they do what they've done, if they get the passing game going with Merrill and those receivers out there, John Rawl and Nathan Freeman, and they're able to play some defense, they should be in good shape at home. But this Antioch team, I think, is suddenly playing with a little bit of confidence. So, you know, I don't think Ravenwood can really afford to overlook those guys.
And we've seen the Raptors kind of be almost like a Jekyll and Hyde team, like you say here. And speaking of Mount Juliet just prior, they're the same Raptor team that beat Mount Juliet at Mount Juliet in what, week 4 or 5 there?
Early on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you said, you don't really know which team you're going to get, and that's tough when you're a first-year coach like Richie Westman, not knowing from one week to the next, and I'm sure that there's a little concern as far as that goes. So, you know, with everybody going to the playoffs in 6A, I'm sure that they would like to come out and be who they think they are and take care of business, and again, go into postseason play on a little bit of a high, coming off a win. You don't want to go into the postseason coming off of a loss and having a bunch of questions about yourself, I don't think. So from a playoff standpoint, Ravenwood really needs this win, I think.
Well, in Region 4 4A, Mo, we have another big contest here. The Page boys are going to be hosting Marshall County in another regional showdown.
Yeah, this one will decide the region championship in 4-4A, like you said. Kind of like it did last year when Page went to Lewisburg and dropped a tough one. So this time the Tigers come up to Page, and both these teams undefeated in region play. Page got clear of Giles County a couple of weeks ago with the kick 6.
Yes. Yeah.
And Samaglia's field goal at the end to win one on the road. Gives them a lot of confidence, I think, coming into this one. That plus the win last week against White House. Marshall County is going to be a handful for them, I think, because they've got a bunch of guys that can hurt you all over that offense. And then you've got the MTSU commitment at linebacker as well, Kane McWilliams. So a lot of talent on that ball club, and big challenge for the quarterback, Jacob Van Landingham, who I think visited Navy this past weekend. I think I saw a picture on Twitter. So congrats to Jacob there. And you know, we like the freshman running back Bubba Johnson as well. So so they've got some guys over there who will have an opportunity to do some things on Friday night. But again, Marshall County is going to be quite the challenge for them.
And we had mentioned prior, too, this is a game where I think both of them have had it circled for quite a while now. But for Page, this has a little more going back to last year.
Exactly. I think the way the season finished up for Page last year, losing this ball game and then losing in the opening round of the playoffs, I think this has kind of been a focal point for them. And I think that Coach Rathbone has done a good job keeping these guys focused and week to week, rather than letting them look too far down the road and get too far ahead of themselves. But now the game is here, and it's time to kind of turn them loose, so we'll see how it goes.
In Division II, we have our two local teams here in Brentwood Academy and Battleground Academy, both coming off of bye weeks. And now for BGA, they're going to go to Franklin Road Academy. And this has always been a nice rivalry, but not the same kind of way it has been in the past.
No, not at all. I think Franklin Road Academy has really struggled this year. They are 1-7, and their one win is over Ezel Harding, I think. So I don't think there's quite the buzz around this ball game that there has been in previous years. Still, BGA needs to go and take care of business, because this is a team that started, what, 4-0, 5-0, something like that. Hit a little bit of a mid-season skid. Seem to be headed back in the right direction now. But again, when you're pointing toward the playoffs, you want to be going in playing your best ball, and I'm sure that's what Rock Batten and that bunch wants to be doing. So they really want to cap things off with a big win Friday night.
And for the Eagles of BA, they'll be traveling to McAllen for their finale here. What do you see from that one?
Brentwood Academy, I think these are two programs that there's a little edge there, and it might be best to just kind of leave it at that. But I don't think motivation will be an issue for this one. I think Brentwood Academy is still the defending state champs, despite that 31-24 loss to MBA a few weeks ago. They bounced back, hammered Father Ryan pretty good, had the bye this past week. I think they're playing with some momentum. Like I said, making that trip to Chattanooga, I don't think there will be a whole lot that needs to be said to get them ready for McAllen. McAllen's playing some pretty good ball. They dropped a tough one to Ensworth a few weeks ago, but they thumped their big rival in Chattanooga, Baylor, before that. So they can do some damage. They've got a quarterback, Robert Riddle, who likes to throw it around, does a pretty good job with it. But I think you'll see a different Brentwood Academy team this week than we saw against MBA, as they want to get geared back up and get ready for playoff action.
Now, for 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks in a row here, we've seen numbers from Austin Amora, GCA, which are just staggering. So through 2 games, he's got 16 total touchdowns. What are we seeing here? How's Austin getting free like this?
You know, and I think opposing coaches are asking that same question. You know, he had the big night, like you said, 9 touchdowns in the win over Mount Pleasant, 7 touchdowns last week in a 53-52 loss to Richland. So they can put numbers up. Getting some stops on defense, I think, will be the next focus for Rusty Smith and them. But I'm not sure that you'll see this kind of night out of Austin against Fayetteville, a team that comes in at 7-2 overall, 6-1 in Region 4-1A. So the challenge will be for him to continue that type performance against a really good ball club like the Tigers. And I'm not sure, but he's certainly proven himself to be one of the top players in that region, and a kid to watch next year as well. And he's going to be the key for whatever steps Grace Christian takes going forward, I think.
In county-wise, I mean, where do you want to go, right?
You can go pretty much anywhere you want to. Most everybody's at home this weekend, so if you wanted to get out and see a game, you got a great opportunity to do it. Again, most everybody's at home, and a lot of great ball games out there, a lot of them with some meaning to them. I mean, most everybody is headed to the playoffs, so everybody's kind of playing for playoff positioning, home field, that kind of thing. So a lot of games with a lot of importance to them. This will be a great weekend to get out and see one.
And, of course, you can be following all these games Friday night at @MoPatton_sports, on Twitter at CS Pulliam, and at WH Sports. And all the coverage, of course, on the WilliamsonHerald.com. Want to thank our friend Maurice Patton here, the executive editor at MoPattonSports.com, and, of course, the sports editor at the Columbia Daily Herald. Mo, thanks for coming with us. We'll have Joe with us next week as we introduce some playoff matchups. Thanks for watching.